do this. Here we go again. Hello, people. Another beautiful day or night. Yep. 10:35 at night, that is. Hoping your five senses work and your health and strength is good. Or excellent. What? What's up, gamers? What's up, Tweaktown? We at it again. Well, we got this nice little article here. Listen to this. Microsoft offers several iteration of its cloud remedy to the CMA. And then it says, the Competition and Market Authority CMA CEO Sarah Cardle say that Microsoft offered multiple versions of its cloud remedy to UK antitrust officials. It says here, agency CEO Sarah Cardle say that the Competition and Market Authority independent panel group analyzed multiple versions of Microsoft's proposed cloud remedy, but none of them convinced the group that a significant lesson of competition would not occur. It says here, at a recent hearing with the UK Business and Trade Committee, the CEO of the Competition and Market Authority, Sarah Cardle, outlined more specific detail as to why regulators decide to block Microsoft Activision merger. According to Cardle, Microsoft created multiple remedies proposal in the effort of addressing key concerns in the cloud gaming market. These remedies includes 10-year licensing deals to offer both Xbox and Activision games to competing cloud streaming service provider like Nvidia GeForce Now. While Microsoft remedy was enough to win over the European Commission, who approved the Microsoft Activision merger, the concession did not persuade the CMA, said the Competition and Market Authority addressed Microsoft Cloud remedy in its final decision report, and you can find a breakdown on this remedy here. In a lengthy transcript, the CMA CEO Sarah Cardle explained, as you may be familiar, our merger control decision are taken by our independent panel group, and the group reached the decision back at the end of April to prohibit the transaction. The reason for that was that they identify a problem in the cloud gaming market. There is a rapid emerging part of the market, and it is a market where Microsoft has a leading position. As things stand, across its position in relation to cloud infrastructure more broadly, as well as Xbox and Windows. So we were concerned about the ability of Microsoft to take that position and combine it with a very strong position that Activision has in terms of its very significant portfolio of games. The group considered that the deal very, very carefully, and they concluded that this would lead to a lesson of competition, effectively because it would prevent other cloud gaming providers to be able to compete as that market goes forward. The group very, very carefully considered a proposed remedy that was tabled by Microsoft. The group went through several iterations of that and ultimately concluded that it would not be effective to resolve the competition concerns. Now, a reminder of the UK position is that when we identify a merger will result in substantial lessons of competition, the legislation requires us to consider whether any proposed remedy will be comprehensive and effective in resolving those concerns. The group considered this very carefully and concluded that proposed remedy would not. Essentially, the reason for that is the remedy would have involved Microsoft offering a lessened deal that would effectively set the terms of trade for the market for the next 10 years. It would set the terms in which other cloud gaming providers would be able to get access to those games. The group considered that was not an effective remedy, remembering that this is a really important evolving market in which we want to keep open to free competition. We want to make sure that competition is able to evolve in that market, encumbered by regulatory constraints. That was the essence of the reason to reject the remedy. What that means is that the CMA had decided that the deal needed to be prohibited. You you will have all seen, I am sure, the announcement from the EU Commission. Now, the Commission had also agreed that the deal would give rise to competition concerns. There's no difference between the CMA and the European Commission there. The Commission has, however, concluded that they consider it appropriate to accept the remedy. They have their own test to apply, and they reach their own view. Obviously, they're fully entitled to reach that view, but we remain of the view from a UK perspective that it was not appropriate to accept that remedy. The final thing I would add, just in terms of where we are in terms of global jurisdiction, is that the deal is also subjected to review in the U.S. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission is suing to block the deal. It is a litigation approach in the U.S. Cardle was asked why the European Commission felt differently about Microsoft Cloud Remedy and what was the overall substance to disagreement between the CMA and the EC Dig Comp Group. Says Cardle responds, we don't have details of the Commission's reasoning. What I can give you is the rationale as to why the CMA concluded it was not appropriate to accept that remedy. As I say, we look very, very careful at this. The process that we have involved in a specific hearing on remedies and opportunities for the parties to put in several rounds of remedies proposal, it was a long and careful process. What the group are considering, there is still a remedy give the group confidence that this market will be able to continue with competitive dynamics in the absence of the merger. This is a market which is early gestations, where we want competition to flourish. We want all parties, big and small, to be able to access that market. There was a real concern on the part of the group that if you accept the proposal that was tabled by Microsoft, it would constrain the way the market would evolve going forward. It would not replicate the condition of full and free competition that we would see in the absence of the merger. Then it says here, the Business and Trade Commission goes on to ask Cardle about corporation potentially lobbying or trying to persuade the CMA work, in which the CMA CEO respond, I would say overall our experience is very positive in terms of engagement that we had across the tech industry. One of my priorities since I've been enrolled was to make sure that I was engaged very actively with business, large and small, across tech sector. It's absolutely critical from my perspective that we have good engagement, that we understand the sector, that we understand business, but also we can have a frank and constructive dialogue. I have been meeting on a regular basis with senior representatives from both individual tech companies, but also with industry groups. One of the points that I have made in those meetings, and I think that's being reciprocated, is a recognition that this is a sector that we want to work together, a sector that we want to make sure together that we can create and support the best condition for competition that will enable companies big and small to thrive, including many UK startups. Of course, it's the case that there will be individual decisions. We reach a different view. Again, that's something that we had very frank discussion about. But I think it's absolutely critical that we maintain a constructive dialogue, and something that I seek to do, that I am doing regularly. I don't find that we are operating, more broadly speaking, in hostile environments. The other thing I would mention is that we have an individual case like Microsoft Activision, where obviously the parties disagree with our outcome. We have many other cases that we are pursuing, including other cases on antitrust side. where we are in the process of and have reached constructive outcomes. It says a good example of that would be the antitrust case that we had in relations to Google's privacy. This was processed by Google to withdraw the third-party cookies on their Chrome browser, and we identified early on that there were concerns there. Google were very constructive in the case. They came in and offered commitments. This is an opportunity to resolve the case through binding commitments rather than taking it through a final conclusion. We engage very actively with them, also with Information Commissioner Office, and we've been able to work together to come up with a solution that actually now being rolled out worldwide. That, I think, is a really good example of the kind of constructive engagement that we look to see. It's very much the model that we expect to see going forward with new regimes as well. Okay, how long did it take me? 11 minutes. All right, should have took me 10. But anyway, that's the end of the article. Look, you know what I find funny about this article is that she mentioned Google. They mentioned Google in the conversation, and Google and Sony is the one that's opposing the Microsoft Activision merger. Look, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard doesn't stop competition. It doesn't stop the industry from growing. It doesn't stop video games from being made. It doesn't stop military shooters from being made. You know, like Call of Duty, because we also got Battlefield, and of course there is Brothers in Arms, and Gearbox need to step their game up and need to be consistent with that game. The Microsoft Activision merger does not stop the cloud gaming industry from growing. Every cloud service provider, you know, is responsible to make their service grow. What I didn't see they didn't mention in this entire article when they talk about this Activision situation. Not even the CMA or the FTC said that Activision Blizzard is up for grabs. The only person that's saying this is me, because once Facebook got involved, once Facebook name got mentioned in the very beginning, it became clear Activision Blizzard is really up for grabs, and anybody with big pockets could have gotten them. When Activision was having their problems all over the place and people were complaining and all that, Activision Blizzard was up for grabs. So anybody with big pockets could get them. People thought the problems was going to be solved by themselves, but there was something else brewing. So instead of letting the drama with Activision Blizzard keep lingering, Microsoft is like, okay, your problem will become our problem. We'll take care of it. And when I say take care of it, they purchased them. That's what they did. Okay? They did it before Google even got to it. That's one. They did it before Amazon even got to it. That's two. They did it before Tencent. Before Tencent even got to it. That's three. Of course, there's Sony with a Call of Duty contract. So they should have been the first over there to see what was really happening. Then Nintendo too. Okay? And of course, there's Take-Two. So when Activision was having their problems all over the place, Activision Blizzard was really up for grabs. And I have yet to see the CMA and the FTC mention this. Okay? They were really up for grab. The moment Facebook name got mentioned in this whole situation, it became clear as day. Okay? You're like, okay, they're up for grabs. Okay, so that means anybody can get them. Okay? So the CMA now talking about they have they had a group of people looking at this, to me, this whole situation is all about helping Sony to maintain their dominant position within the video game market. The other thing they didn't mention too is that Sony was buying studios behind the scene while they were complaining about Microsoft. Just saying, you bought 3 studios behind the scenes, right? And this was never mentioned until the last video I did. Okay, so now the CMA got some explanation to do. So if I'm Phil Spencer and the heads at Microsoft, we're taking this in front of the Supreme Court. We're putting the FTC and the CMA on the hot seat. Okay, it's like one is like, okay, one is like, we're not going to remove Nintendo. Okay. The other is like, oh, we're going to remove Nintendo and make this about Sony, Microsoft and Sony. But the FTC removing Nintendo from the picture, they can't do it because Nintendo is a part of the game industry. Okay, so in this entire article, when I seen it, when I'm looking through it, it's like Microsoft giving people 10 years, a 10-year contract. What that means is that nobody is left out. It means that with a 10-year contract, they don't have to pay the licensing fee. With a 10-year contract, they can renew it if it expires. So Microsoft is trying to help people while they purchase Activision Blizzard. Sure, they want to get Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass, but they're not trying to leave anybody out. Okay? And this would have also helped Google too if they would have opened their eyes a little bit. But Google and Sony is working together in this. Google and Sony are against the Activision merger, but I find it funny that they got the nerve. What's the CMA? The CMA got the nerve to try to mention Google in an antitrust case, but don't want to mention the fact that Google is also the one trying to block the merger. So if I'm Microsoft, I'm like taking this whole thing in front of the Supreme Court, because the CMA and the FTC is not exempt from the Supreme Court. They're not. They're not above. They're not above the They're not above law and they're not above principle. So they need to be. Microsoft should take them to the Supreme Court and hash it out there, and let the Supreme Court judges make a decision on this. On this meal. On the deal, and then put it to and put it to rest. Because if you got the CMA and the FTC trying to block the deal, both of them, but then the European Union approves it, but they understands it. Why can't you? You know what I mean? So yeah, this Activision Blizzard deal, it doesn't stop competition at all. It doesn't. It doesn't stop the game industry from growing. Okay, it doesn't stop the video game industry from thriving, from expanding. Okay, the thing about cloud gaming is that you have to have an infrastructure in place, and to do cloud gaming, and Sony, Nintendo should have been on this. Should have been on top of this. This cloud should have been on top of cloud gaming since I would say since the PlayStation 2. They should have started building an infrastructure about cloud gaming since PS2, and then take it and then continue working on it from there. You know? So yeah. But other than this, man, this whole thing smells like, it's like they're trying to help Sony to maintain their market lead and their dominance in the video game industry, and it's like they're trying to turn a blind eye when Sony's hitting everybody with hitting Microsoft with time exclusive and blocking games. When Sony's hitting Microsoft with time exclusive and are blocking games, they try to act like that's not happening. So to me, the Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard does not stop the video game industry from growing. You know, you can't say, well, you know, we don't think the deal is gonna, it's not gonna, we don't, you can't say like, you can't say, well, we don't think the deal is gonna do any damage, do any harm, but we're more concerned about cloud gaming. They should have been like, well, you know, it's either the deal is gonna cause harm to video games, or it's not. That's the decision they should have came to. But they are flip flopping. So I find it funny that they mentioned Google in this, and Microsoft mentioned that Google and Sony is the ones that's interfering with the deal being passed. So yeah, you know, when it comes to this this Activision Blizzard deal, you know, Microsoft beat everybody to it, you know, because the moment Facebook got mentioned in this, that's when it became clear that they were up for grabs, and they seized the opportunity while they can, you know. So yeah, but I do think that Microsoft need to take this in front of the Supreme Court, you know, and put the CMA and the FTC on the hot seat. And plus, there's other articles talking about they have colluded. So, and Microsoft need to bring that up to the judges in the Supreme Court and let them make a decision on this Activision merger and end it right there. You know? But other than that, to me, the CMA is just talking a bunch of nonsense. I don't think they understand. I don't think they understand cloud gaming like they claim they do. I don't think they understand that sector or that market. You know, it's just that it's Microsoft we're dealing with. You know, it's Microsoft, and I guess they don't want Microsoft to get too big, so to speak. That's why they probably blocked the deal. Other than that, stopping competition? Nah. Stop the game industry from growing? No. You know, stop the cloud gaming market from expanding? Nah. Not even close. So yeah, other than that, man, I mean the EU approved the deal, and they're watching Microsoft, you know. So we'll see where Microsoft go from there. But you know, Microsoft should take take the CMA and the FTC to the Supreme Court over this. You know. That's where this needs to go. You know, and let the Supreme Court judges make a decision on this. Yeah. So yeah. You know, and the CMA, the FTC, they're not exempt. You know, I mean, they tried to. I mean, when you look at both of them, it's like you try to remove Nintendo from the picture, and Nintendo has a Call of Duty fan base. Come on, huh? Can't do that. You know? Other than that, man, you know, Nvidia benefit, even Nvidia calls you out on this. Nvidia, yeah, you know, Nvidia like the 10-year deals. So does Nintendo. So does everybody else that signs up to it. To me, it's just like, you know, the CMA and the FTC just trying to help Sony, and they need to explain how is it that you let Sony purchase studios. Sony is complaining about Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, right? And you guys filed, you tried to block the deal, but at the same time, in the process of blocking the deal, you let Sony buy 3 studios. How does that work? So yeah, this little situation is far from over, man. So yeah. Microsoft need to see this all the way through. You know, they need to see this all the way through, and take this whole situation in front of the Supreme Court, and let the Supreme Court judges make a decision on this. You know, let them have the final say. You know, and let it go on from there. Yeah. But other than that, Xbox is doing good. You know, Microsoft got a lot to look forward to, you know, in the months to come. I mean, Xbox fans should, you know, look forward. I mean, have a lot to look forward to in the months to come. You know, so yeah. But other than that, man, X Game Pass is good. XCloud is good. And Microsoft need to keep moving forward with Game Pass, and those 10-year contracts that they gave out, those um those 10-year contracts, that they gave out, everybody will benefit, include everybody, Enware, EE, Ubitus, Boosteroid, and Nintendo. They all will benefit from this. They all will benefit. Whatever, that way, that means like whenever Call of Duty comes out, everybody gets it all at the same time. They get their content all at the same time. They get their updates all at the same time. Nobody is left out. So yeah. The 10-year deals are good. So I don't think Microsoft is trying to do any harm here. They just saw it. They just saw it, man. When they realized how valuable Activision Blizzard is, they just swooped in. So yeah. And then what I find funny in this article says, but we remain of the view from a UK perspective that it was not appropriate to accept the remedies. So now the question becomes, okay, if that's the case, since you're speaking for the U, how big is PlayStation in the UK versus Xbox? That's another question you can pull from this. How big? So it says, in terms of the deal, subject to review of the U.S. Okay. Said the European Commission felt differently about Microsoft Cloud Remedy and what was the overall substance of the disagreement between the CMA and the European Commission. Exactly, because the European Commission's to me, like, the European Commission understands cloud gaming more than the CMA. So if they approve the deal, I mean, of course they were concerned, but they say they don't think the deal is going to cause any harm. It's not going to cause any harm to the market. So if the European Commission can come to that agreement, why can't the CMA? And what the other question people need to ask is, okay, what's going on between you and Sony? And they can let the chips fall where they may with that question. So other than that, man, they're trying to they're talking about competition and giving other cloud gaming service equal opportunity. Microsoft is not stopping anybody from stopping their cloud gaming service from growing. They're not. It's just that they just beat everybody to the punch with this when it's all said and done. And there were some big name players out there with big pockets, with big pockets who could who could have snatched up Activision Blizzard, if they wanted to. Google is one of them. Amazon is another. Tencent, Take Two. Anybody could have gotten Activision Blizzard. It's just that Microsoft beat everybody to it. Yeah. And when it comes to cloud gaming, every console manufacturer or cloud service provider is responsible to make their service grow. So one of the reasons, like I said, one of the reasons I think Google struggled with their cloud gaming service is just they don't the games that they were offering, people could get those on say Xbox or PlayStation. So it's like, okay, why would I go sign up with the Stadia when Sony and Microsoft has the same thing? And I think the other reason too is that they didn't come into the game industry like how Microsoft came in. Microsoft started in PC, but then they came to console. Sega gave them the keys, and they carried their own load, and they were successful. You know, they worked their way from the ground up. They didn't start. They didn't started at the top and then stay at stay at the top. They worked from the bottom all the way up. You know, there's levels to it. You know? They did it just like how PlayStation did it, and I think that's why Google failed. You know, Google didn't present something physical with some games that people can grasp or touch or feel or you know, embrace. They didn't do that. They just came in with a cloud streaming service, and that was it. So it's kind of hard. It's going to be hard to compete with the likes of, say, like Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, because Microsoft had to build their into video games. I mean, they were doing what flight simulators for like PC. They were doing games in PC, but when it comes to the console gaming market now, they had to bring something physical to the table, something that you can touch, something that you can feel, something that you can hold, something that you can play with. That's what they brought to the table. They came into the door with the original Xbox and Halo and a bunch of games alongside it. That's how they came in, you know? And they built from the ground up. Nintendo, same way. They came in with a console and built from the ground up. Sony, when it came to video games in the console gaming market, they came in with a console and built from the ground up. So to me, Google just coming in with a cloud streaming service now is like, it's going to be tough to compete with the likes, say, like Sony, Nintendo, or even Microsoft. So yeah, if they would have came in with their own game and something like, you know, something physical, then they might still be here. But since they didn't do that, you know, Valve was already well known. You know, Valve was already well known. You know, they were making games in PC. They tried with a couple of hardwares, but when they came out with the Steam Deck, they nailed it. So yeah, you know, and now Valve is here. So yeah, this video game industry is very competitive, and you have to stay consistent, you know, with what you're doing, you know. And when you see an opportunity, you seize it. So when it comes to Activision Blizzard now, Microsoft saw the opportunity and seized it. Instead of letting the problem like linger on and everybody just talking about it, Microsoft say, what? Oh, they're weak. Let's get them. Got them. So yeah. But to me right now, when it comes to this article, the CMA is not saying anything. You know, I think to me they're just protecting Sony. When I looked at the whole thing, well, that's what they're doing. But other than that, you know, Microsoft needs to see this deal through all the way to the end, you know. And if it means that they got to get in front of the Supreme Court, so be it. Anyway, I'll leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Nice talking to you people. Like me and Chris, still Star Wars and Star Trek thing. Bored Dark Side. Go. Peace.